Hi and welcome back to the Joyful Soul Creates. Lady Joyful here, and I'm so glad you could join me today for this video, which is my 10 cards 1 kit video for the Simon Says Stamp March card kit. I am aware that it is no longer March and it is almost no longer April either. I didn't actually receive this card kit until the very end of March, right before I flew back to England to visit my family, and I was sick for a couple of weeks, so I've only just managed to get around to getting it all sorted, which is why it's so late. But anyway, for my first card, I'm using one of the pieces of pattern paper which I cut down to card front size. I thought this one with the flower corner really stood out on its own and didn't need a lot else added to it. I am, however, using the ribbon stamp from one of the stamp sets in the kit, and all the products will be listed down below. I'm using the ribbon stamp on a snippet of pink paper using the pink ink from the kit to create a strip to go along the card front, along the pattern paper panel, and I'm adding one of the stickers from the kit to be my sentiment. I'm putting that to overlap the ribbon that I stamped, and I would just adhere that into place on the card, on the pattern paper, and then all that's left to do is adhering the panel to my card base, and I'm using a pink card base. I'm using my Misty just to help make sure I get it completely lined up in the corner properly, and that completes my first card. My second card is also using pattern papers and stickers. I'm using this wood grain pattern paper, and you can see here I already had the stickers lined up on a card base, and that's because originally I'd been planning on just putting it directly on the card base. After some consideration I decided I didn't like how that looked, so instead I am transferring all the stickers onto this wooden pattern paper, and I thought that looked better. I kind of imagine it as like the inside of a shed and these are hanging on the wall or on a shelf or something. So I'm using these. There's a rake, a fork, little spade or shovel, and a watering can. And I decided actually that I'd rather use the cream card base than the craft card base, so I swapped that. Then I'm going to add my sentiment, which is from one of the stamp sets, and I decided to heat embossing silver because the silver coordinates with the grey of the stick as well. Then I'm just going to adhere the panel to the card base, just carefully lining it up, and then I can remove the rest of the backing paper from my tape, which completes my second card. For my third card I decided to do some wreath stamping, so I pulled out my Gina Wreath Builder stencil and I've placed my little pearl into it, and I'm going to kind of rush through this because it did take quite a while. So I'm using the pink and purple inks from the kit and I'm stamping on the flowers. I left the stamps in place as I went in case I decided I wanted to add more of those flowers to the wreath. I also bought in some green Alt New inks to add to the greenery. And I'm not stamping each image all the way around the wreath, some of them are only in 1 or 2 points. So when I'd completed all the stamping, I cut out my wreath. Originally I was thinking I would die cut it just with a circle die, but I decided I wanted I wanted to cut it to fit the imagery better, so that's why I chose to fussy cut it. The sticker set had this large hello sentiment sticker and it fit nicely over my wreath, so I added that. And then I'm working on my card base. I'm just using this paper from the stamp set to line up that ribbon stamp to make sure it's perfectly straight, and then I'm stamping it with the purple ink directly onto my card base. This is just to add a bit of differentiation between the pattern paper and the card base. I will then add my pattern paper to the left hand side of the card, just with the tiny edge of the purple showing, and I will pop my wreath up on foam tape over the top, which completes my third card. My fourth card again uses lots of stickers and a pattern paper. This is the kind of market looking pattern paper, so I trimmed it down to be just smaller than my card base so that there would be a bit of a reveal around it. And then I pulled out some stickers from the sticker set, and these are all, I felt they looked like they could be shelves hanging on the wall, so I added those. And then I put this large jug of flowers if it's sitting on the table in front. For my sentiment, I wanted to use part of this sticker, not the whole thing, so I'm just using my anti-static powder tool on the back so that it won't stick to my craft mat too much when I'm cutting it out. I'm using my craft knife and my metal ruler to trim out the inside brown portion of the sticker. So I don't want that frame, I just want the inner piece with the wording on it. And then I also cut a small narrow strip of wooden paper, and that's going to hold up my sign. So I put some glue pen on the back of that, and I will slide that into position where I wanted it. And then there's foam tape on the back of the actual sentiment part just to give it some dimension, and I thought this looked like a sign on the table, which I felt worked well for the scene I'd created. So that completes that card. My fifth card changed up a bit as I went along, but I am using the white wood grain pattern paper, or it's kind of like wooden boards, and I am using a snippet of that brown paper that I'd used on my second card and laying that over top. I did consider using the frame here. I kept trying to find a way to use this frame that I had offcut from the other card, but I didn't end up using it at all. But for now I'm thinking that I will. So I was looking for another pattern paper to go with it, just to create a little board along the edge. I decided I liked this pink one, so I trimmed down just a narrow strip of that. And I will adhere that to the edge of the dark wood paper. I'm using my grip mat to help me get it straight. And I will trim off the excess. And then I shall adhere that panel to my white panel, my base panel. And again, I'm using the lines on my grid, and then I also bring in my T-square ruler just to make completely sure that it's straight. I decided instead of using the frame to use the love banner stickers, and then I thought the little bunny would go nicely with them. So I stamped, coloured and fussy cut that off screen, and I just used alcohol markers to add just a hint of shading as well as pink to the ears and the nose. I wanted to give it a little fluffy tail using one of the pom-poms from the kit, so I am putting some glue. I just happened to grab my glossy accents for this. I put some glue over the tail and press the pom-pom into place and use my scissors to weight it down whilst it dries, which completes that card. My sixth card, I really focused on using the stamp set and the inks. I'm going to, I put the ribbon stamp in place just to help me line everything up, and then I'm stamping 3 welly boots along the top. I did purple, pink, purple, and then I will reposition stamp and stamp along the bottom, and this time I'm changing the order of the colours, so there's 2 pinks and 1 purple at the bottom. And just moving the card base along in my MISTI each time to try and get the spacing nice and even. I then stamped the ribbon stamp along the middle with the purple ink, and I stamped it multiple times, which gave a nice dark impression. Then I took one of the sentiments from the stamp set and stamped it over that purple ribbon, and I'm going to white heat emboss that. So I'll just melt the embossing powder, and then that finishes that card. My seventh card, I went back to the pattern papers and stickers. So I'm using a large panel of this kind of black background floral pattern paper, and I'm adhering that to a green card base, a dark green card base. So I'll just line it up and remove the rest of the backing paper. I'm then using one of the kind of tag stickers from the set, from the sticker sheet, and I want that hole to show, so I'm going to pop this little plant pot over the top of it to disguise that. And I felt it went with the pattern that I was using. Originally I was going to leave it as that, but decided I needed something else, so I took the little banner sticker that says grow and put that on the top left hand corner just to help balance it out a bit. Which finishes my seventh card. For card number 8, I went back to stamp sets, and I'm stamping the little duck and a sentiment directly onto my white card base. Originally I was going to do a 1-layer card, but I didn't like how the colouring was going, so I re-stamped the duck onto another piece of white card and coloured it in with my alcohol markers. I went with a yellow duck with green and blue accessories, and then I will fussy cut him out. I chose to fussy cut right up to the line, I didn't want a white border. And I'm fussy cutting away the puddle as well because there's the one already stamped on the card base. So then I will adhere him into place over the one that was on the card base, and just press him down and make sure he's properly adhered, and that completes that card. My 9th card is another clean and simple card with just one of the critters and one of the sentiments. This time I'm using the bunny and a craft card paste. This is Nina Desert Storm. So I'm stamping with MFT Black Licorice Hybrid ink, which is usually what I stamp with when I'm using black. And then I'm going to colour with my white Caran Dash, I'm not sure how you say that, pencil. And the colour of the card base is basically going to be my shadow. So I'm concentrating on putting in the areas of highlight and then having the strongest white colour in those areas, and then lighter layers of white towards the shadow areas. I did also come in with a pinkish pencil to colour up the inner ear and the nose. And then I put the card base back in my Misty to restamp the lines of the rabbit over the top where they'd been dulled out by being coloured over. Just make them crisper. And again I'm going to add a little pom-pom to his tail, and this time I used Simon Says Stamp craft glue. I weighted the pom-pom down whilst it dried, and that completed my little bunny rabbit card. And my final card, I am, as I often do with these 10 cards videos, I am trying to use up some of my snippets. So I trimmed these down off screen just to make sure they would fit the card base, and I'd played around so that I worked out what layout I wanted. I'm again using my Misty to help me get everything flush to the edge of the card, and I'm just lining them up and pressing them into place. I have double-sided tape on the back of all these pieces. So I had the black floral panel, the white wood, the brown wood, and then I have this piece which is another black floral design, and finally I have this piece with the wreaths. And the hole is visible on this, but I'm going to cover that up with my sentiment, which is just a sticker, which I felt worked nicely with the wreath, the wreath imagery on the pattern paper below. And also I liked the juxtaposition of the circle against the sharp angles of the layout of the pattern paper. So I'll press that into place, and that completes my final card. As I said, the products I have used are all linked and listed in the description box below. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and you can subscribe by pressing the button on screen now. There are some more videos here that you may enjoy, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below or over on social media. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!